Today I'm going to be showing you how to take this into these. Hey y'all, I'm Sammy and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing 10 of the best, most unbelievable ground beef recipes ever. There might be some oldies but goodies in there, along with some newbies. So keep watching, sit back and relax, grab you some sweet tea, and let me do all the cooking. Come on, y'all, let's go. So starting out, we're going to make a creamy tomato and beef orzo. Now this one is a new one to us, and I kind of took a bunch of different recipes, but the main one that I followed, I'll have linked down below for y'all. So I kind of just made it my own. So into a large skillet, you're going to start with 1 pound of lean ground beef, a half of a large onion diced up. Then you will go ahead and mix that up just a little bit, just enough to break that ground beef into pieces, kind of get it started anyways. Next, you'll add in some salt and some pepper to taste. I probably used about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon each. Then you're going to add in about 2 heaping tablespoons of garlic. If you don't like garlic that much, you can always lessen it, but y'all know we love garlic over here. Then you're going to add in 1 cup of orzo pasta. Give that a good old stir. Now, I didn't drain my beef because I used a lean ground beef, but if you have like a fattier ground beef, you'll need to drain that off just a little bit because that orzo will soak that up. Then you're going to add in about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, 1 15-ounce can of tomato sauce, 1 cup of beef broth, and about 1 to 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. Then you'll give that a good old stir together to make sure everything is well combined and then just all those flavors are mixed in there. Then when it comes to that boil, you'll want to go ahead and put a lid on it and turn that down to medium-low. You do want to stir it periodically though, so that orzo don't stick to that bottom of that pan. And it doesn't take very long, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes is all. So you'll remove that lid, and then we're going to stir in 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Just right to the top of it, y'all. Nothing special here. Just give that a good old mix through. This just adds that creaminess and richness to it. So good, y'all. Then we'll add about a half a cup to a cup of Parmesan cheese. However much you want. It's really up to your tasting, but I put about a half a cup. Then we're going to take 6 ounces of the baby spinach. I did wash this and put that right on into the skillet, y'all. Give that a good mix on in there. Kind of, mush it down into that sauce and the pasta and everything. And then we'll put the lid on it a little bit to let that kind of steam a little bit. And you'll see here that it's easier to work with because it's wilted down a little bit, or wilted down enough. That way you can stir that right through that pasta. Now this one is pretty much done, y'all. Can you believe how quick this was? So good and so easy, but it was absolutely delicious. And it's definitely a must make. I would give this one a 10 out of 10. I just topped it with some Parmesan and some basil right on top. And this is what we had for supper this night, and it was delicious. Now, if you're liking what you see so far, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And how about hitting that subscribe button and becoming part of my YouTube family? I would absolutely love to have y'all. And I know y'all don't want to miss these delicious recipes. So good, y'all. Look at that. Isn't it delicious? Now, moving right along, we're going to make a beef and broccoli. That's right, using some ground beef. Can you believe it? This one was so simple, but it was definitely delicious. So into a large skillet, I put 2 pounds of lean ground beef right on in there, and I'm going to season that up with some pepper and some salt. Then we'll just kind of break that beef up a little bit just to kind of get it started on browning. This process does go pretty fast. Now, I did season that with some Badia black garlic seasoning right there. And then I'm going to add in 2 healthy heaping tablespoons of garlic, a 1/4 cup. Actually, I doubled this. So I used a half a cup of brown sugar, and then 1 cup of low sodium soy sauce, and then 1 teaspoon of rice vinegar goes right on in there, and 2 teaspoons of ginger. along with 1 cup of water. Then you will add in 1 to 2 teaspoons of toasted sesame oil. I use 2 teaspoons because I love toasted sesame oil. We'll give that a good old stir together just to make sure that everything is well combined, and then we will let that simmer and get happy before we add in the broccoli florets. Now, I chose to use some baby broccoli florets because it worked perfectly. They don't take as long to cook, and they're easier to stir up on in there. So once you have that broccoli stirred up and everything is well coated in that sauce, you'll put that lid on it and let that simmer down for about 10 minutes before you add in equal parts of water and cornstarch. So I had 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to 2 tablespoons of water to make a cornstarch slurry. And then you'll see that it thickens really, really quick. And that's what makes your very delicious sauce. Oh, so good. Now, I served it up with a little bit of teriyaki sauce right on top and some sesame seeds. You could always put some like fresh cut green onions on there if you wanted to, but y'all, this one is seriously a must try. It was so easy and so quick. Perfect for a busy weeknight meal or when you just want something really, really good to eat and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. That's what I'm all about, y'all. Now, this recipe has definitely become a family favorite, and I'm hoping it will yours too because it will be perfect for a fall or a winter evening. Heck, I would even eat it all year round because I love lasagna and you can't beat it in this quick and easy form right here. So, into a sprayed 7-quart crock pot, I got 1 pound of ground beef right on in there. It's already been browned up. We're going to take one regular sized jar of the roasted red peppers. 1 15-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes go in there as well. And along with a 28-ounce can, I believe, of the crushed tomatoes, along with 1 small diced onion, and about a teaspoon or so, just a taste of Badia Complete. 1 to 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning go right in there as well. Then you will add in I think I use 2 tablespoons of garlic, but y'all know me, I like to keep those vampires away, and I love me some garlic. So I did use about 2 tablespoons of garlic there. And then you're going to put in 4 to 6 cups of beef broth. Now, I think I did right about 5 cups of beef broth right here, but I will have the original recipe linked down below. That way y'all can follow that. Then you'll pop that lid on it and let it cook for about 4 to 5 hours on low just to let those flavors combine. That way everything gets brought up to temperature too. Before you add in this entire 16-ounce box of lasagna noodles, that's right, an entire 16-ounce box, because trust me, you'll need it. This makes a big old batch of soup, y'all. Now, I just broke my lasagna noodles up into smaller pieces like you can see right here. And like I said, I did use the entire box and I just stirred those on up just to make sure all of those noodles were, separated from each other. That way they didn't stick. Now, you'll pop that lid back on it and let it still cook on low for about 30 minutes. And then you'll see right here, those noodles have absorbed a lot of that liquid. If you were worried about it being too, runny or liquidy, you can see right here that is not the case. It is a perfect soup consistency. And I just topped mine with some mozzarella cheese, a scoop of ricotta cheese because it's lasagna, and then I sprinkled it to top it off with some Parmesan and some basil right on top. Now, most people want to mix theirs all up, but me, I got to get a bite of everything. So I just took a big old scoop of it and it was amazing, y'all. Definitely give it a try. Now let's make some Sloppy Joe garlic toast. This one is super simple and super easy for a weeknight meal if you don't know what you want, but you got a pound of ground beef you need to use. This one is it. So into a skillet, I've got 1 pound of ground beef, about a half a cup of diced up onions, along with some wood-fired garlic by Kinder's. Some chili powder goes right in there too, and some ground mustard. You could use regular mustard if you don't have ground mustard, it would be fine. Then we're going to add in some Badia Complete, and we're going to give that a good old mix through just to make sure all those spices get well distributed through that ground beef. And yet again, some more garlic. We're just going to call it the garlic dump. Goes right in there along with some Worcestershire sauce and about a half a cup of ketchup. Now, the Worcestershire was about a tablespoon. Then we'll give that a good mix through just to make sure all of that ketchup and the Worcestershire gets blended throughout that ground beef, because you'll have to let it simmer for a little bit, but we are going to add in one little thing extra, which is about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce. Now, I wouldn't have thought it would be good either, but y'all, it put those sloppy joe mix right over the top. Now, once that's simmering, I went ahead and put all 8 slices of that garlic toast right into the oven just to kind of let that thaw out. So I did have it at 425 degrees, and I probably put that in there for about 5 minutes, just enough so I could make sure I could mush down that bread in the center. That way I could load it up with this sloppy joe mix right on top. Now, once you have all of the sloppy joe mix in there, I did kind of flatten them just a little bit, not much. You'll top them with cheese, because mo cheese, mo better. So right over the top that goes, and then that goes back into the 425-degree oven for about 10 minutes. You're literally just toasting up that bread a little bit and letting that cheese melt on down. That way it's all nice and ooey gooey like you see right here. And I served this up with some macaroni and cheese and some steamable corn. And y'all, this was so yummy, and it was definitely a crowd pleaser. Everybody in my family loved these, so I'm hoping your family will love them too, because this one was great, y'all. Now, next up is a classic, but it's also a favorite. Let's get ready to make some spaghetti and meatballs, but this spaghetti and meatballs also has a meat sauce. So into a large bowl, I've got about 1 pound in here right now, but it's going to be 2 pounds. We've got Kinder's buttery garlic and herb, some caramelized onion butter, and some wood-fired garlic going right on in there, along with 2 eggs and 1 cup of breadcrumbs, along with 1 package of the beefy onion soup mix. Now, this is where I started to mix it up, and I'm like, y'all, I need another pound of burger in here. So I added that right on in, and it made it perfect. I don't know what I was thinking, but apparently I wouldn't, because I would have started with 2 pounds if I would have been. You'll just mix that up. You don't want to overmix it, but just make sure everything is well combined. And then I make them into like little ping pong size balls. And then it made a good bit, as y'all can see right here. Now I'm playing a game to where I'm going to see if I can fit all these meatballs into one skillet. I did it, y'all. Right here. There it goes. It's done. Put all of them right on in there. We're just going to let those brown up on all sides. I just brown them on one side, and then I flip them over and brown them on the other. Now, while that first side was browning, I chopped up some tomato and about 4 cloves of garlic. And now we're back to the meatballs, where we're just going to flip those on over and let that other side get nice and browned up. Once everything is browned up, we'll go ahead and pull them out of the skillet, as you can see right here. We'll set those aside, and now we're going to start on our sketty sauce. So into that same skillet, I did dump out that grease though. We're going to take the other pound of ground beef. We're going to give that a good old mush through and use the same seasonings that I used in the meatballs. So the caramelized onion butter, the wood-fired garlic, and the garlic and herb by Kinder's. Then we're going to add in 1 small diced up onion and 1 can of the tomato paste, the smaller cans. And I think it's about 4 or 6 ounces of that. Then you'll give that a good mix through, and you'll add in 1 packet of the beefy onion soup mix, along with 1 packet of the zesty spaghetti mix. McCormick makes it, or you could do what I do and take the cheaper route and use the Great Value. It's just as good. Then you'll add in 1 jar of your favorite pasta sauce. I chose to use the Classico. You do want to add in about a half a cup of water into that jar to get all that sauce out, and it helps form your sauce in the pan too. Once you have that in there, you'll just give that a good old mix together. Add in those fresh garden tomatoes. How I miss my garden tomatoes, y'all. Along with that garlic. And then you'll give that a nice stir together. You'll pop that lid on it and let that simmer for a little while. But you do want to add your meatballs back in there, because they're not all the way done yet. Then you'll give it a good stir together and pop that lid on and just let that sit there and simmer and get happy. That's all you got to do. That's why I love spaghetti, because you can't get easier than this. It is so good. Unless you don't make the meatballs, but it's really no trouble to make them at all. Then, of course, I just served that over some spaghetti noodles and topped it with some cheddar cheese and some basil, along with some buttered bread, y'all. You can't get much easier than that, and this was so delicious. hey, why don't y'all do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and become part of my YouTube family? Now, let's get in to making some chili, y'all. This one is so good. Trust me on this, you'll want to make it. And as always, all of my recipes are linked down below. So I have a very large stock pot right here, and I just put both pounds of ground beef in there along with one large onion chopped up, or diced up, I should say. We'll give it a good old mash through, and we are seasoning this up. So I chose to go with salt and pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and some ground cumin along with one package of the Chilio seasoning mix and some extra chili powder as well. Probably about a teaspoon of each of those along with that packet. Then you'll give that a good old stir through before we come in with some chili beans. Now, I love using chili beans, but you can use whatever beans you want to. One large can of crushed tomatoes, that was 28 ounces. You want to make sure you stir this up in steps. Now, I don't know if it makes the chili any different, but this is how I've always done it. You add in one can of light red kidney beans, one can of black beans. I do not drain any of my beans. I think it adds to the flavor, along with one can of dark red kidney beans. Then we'll give that a stir again. Make sure everything is nice and mixed up. Now, I had cooked some pintos the night before, and all I did was just add those right on into it. But if you don't have any, you could always get some canned pintos as well and dump them right in the mix. Make sure you give that a good old stir through because we're getting ready to add in my secret ingredient, which is V8 juice. Now, I use the store brand because V8 juice is expensive, and this is just the same. It tastes as good, and if you have any extra, you can drink it. I almost used about 3/4 of that bottle, dumped it right on into that pan, and added in one packet of the Lipton Beefy Onion Soup Mix. Then we'll give that a good old stir through just to make sure all of that is well combined. And I decided to dump in one can of the mild Rotel just to give it a little bit more heat in there. Now, we do add hot sauce and stuff to our individual bowls, but this is just the basic chili recipe that I love. We serve that up with some sour cream, and of course, you gotta have the cheddar cheese on top. I don't know about y'all, but I love sour cream, cheddar cheese, and some saltine crackers. And then sometimes I do make like a peanut butter and honey sandwich to go with it. It just depends. This night, this is exactly how I had it, and it was amazing. And y'all, the leftovers are even better. It's like lasagna, it gets better with time. Now, we're going to go ahead and make a cheesy hamburger casserole. Now, this one I had found some different recipes, but I decided to kind of make my own version of it. So, into a large oven safe skillet, you will brown up 1 pound of lean ground beef. That's why I have a little bit of butter in that skillet. Now, I'm going to use my frozen onions right here, and I'm going to dump about a half a cup of onions in there, along with about a teaspoon each of salt and pepper. Then we're going to add in some onion powder and garlic powder, about a half a teaspoon of those as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and break this meat up. It was a little bit frozen in the center, but it cooks up just fine. Now that we have that ground beef all browned up, we're going to add in a 32-ounce bag of hash browns. I use the diced up ones, 1 can of cream of mushroom, and 1 can of cheddar cheese soup, along with 1 cup of cheddar cheese grated. Now, I use the triple cheddar, but you could use whatever kind you wanted. You'll want to go ahead and give that a good old stir through just to make sure all of that cheese and the soup is well combined. You'll want to go ahead and spread that out into your pan, and then we will top it with the other cup of that shredded cheddar cheese right on top. Now, I just moved it around with my hand a little bit and kind of got it all even. This goes into a 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. Once you get it out, you'll see it's all nice and bubbly and golden brown and delicious. And y'all, oh, this was a party in your mouth. It was so good and so belly filling and rib sticking. Oh, so good, y'all. Definitely give this one a try. I know it's going to be on our family's meal rotation from here on out. Hey, if you are liking the video so far, Can you do me a favor and give me a big old thumbs up and hit that subscribe button? I would absolutely love to have y'all. Plus, you get all kinds of recipes. Now, this one is one I created, and I call it barbecue bacon cheeseburger hash. So simple. I know it looks like a lot and it sounds like a lot, but y'all, trust me, it is amazing. Into a very large skillet, I got some bacon grease into the bottom. I cut up and diced up about 4 large russet potatoes. Then we're going to go ahead and season them with some burger seasoning by Kinder's and some beef bouillon. It's the caramelized burger seasoning, if I'm not mistaken. Then we're going to take 1 small diced up onion in there with some Badia Complete and some paprika, about a teaspoon each of those, and then salt and pepper to taste right over the top. You'll go ahead and give that a good old mix through. That way all them taters get seasoned into that skillet and that bacon grease. You'll pop that lid on it. You'll want to come back and stir them periodically though. That way all them taters get nice and browned on all the sides. Let me tell you something. I love the crispy edges on some taters when you fry them in a skillet. Once those taters are tender, I added in about a tablespoon and a half of minced garlic right into the mix, along with I think it's a 3-ounce bag of bacon bits. And then we're going to add in our pound of ground beef right into the mix, y'all. And then we'll give that a good stir together just to make sure everything is happy in that skillet. And now here comes dun, da, 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 some cheese. Cause more cheese, more better. So we are actually going to stir in about a cup of cheese into that mix. And y'all know me and my cheese. This one was so good. I was a little worried because, when you create your own recipes, you're like, oh, is it going to turn out good? Is it not? But this one turned out wonderful. You'll take another cup to a cup and a half of cheese right over the top, put that lid on it. That way that cheese can melt down over all those taters and everything, and it is just amazing. This is melt in your mouth good. You talking about comfort food? This is going to be one of your new favorite comfort foods. Now, I just served it up with some barbecue sauce right over the top and some parsley just to make it look pretty. But that barbecue sauce and that bacon and the cheese, oh, y'all, this one is definitely a winner beefy dinner. So I hope if y'all try this one, y'all will absolutely love it. If you do, let me know. Moving right along, we're going to make meatloaf in a crock pot. That's right. It's amazing. Can't go wrong, and it can't get much easier than this when you have your main dish ready when you get home from work. So I just got 2.5 pounds of ground beef, and I'm going to mix that right on up into the container that it come in. 2 eggs cracked right on into it. We're going to take 1 medium diced onion, and then I like to kind of, mush it up just a little bit to kind of get those onions and started throughout that beef. We're going to season that up with some salt and pepper, probably about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half. 1 packet of the Lipton onion soup mix goes right over the top of it. And we're also going to use this Kinder's meatloaf seasoning. Now, I just used 1 pack as well. We're going to add in 1 entire sleeve of crushed up saltine crackers right over the top. Now, this does get messy, and I always say, if you ain't making a mess, are you really cooking? Along with a 1/4 cup of milk, a 1/2 cup of ketchup, goes right over the top of it, and then you're going to use the best tools God ever gave you to mix stuff in the kitchen with, your hands. Now, you could always put it in a mixer if you wanted to, but I just like getting right on in there and mixing that up. Once that's mixed up, you'll set that aside, and we're going to make the topping for our meatloaf. I've got 1 cup of ketchup in there, along with a teaspoon of mustard and about a teaspoon of vinegar, along with some garlic powder and onion powder right in the mix. Then we're going to add in some pepper as well. We don't really need salt because we're going to add this Worcestershire sauce right here just to kind of give it a little bit of zing, and about 2 tablespoons of dark brown sugar. If you have light brown sugar, that would work too. We'll just go ahead and give that a good mix and set that aside because we're going to pull back over our meatloaf, well, our meat mixture, but first into a 7-quart crock pot. I've got it lined with some foil. I put 1 widthways and one lengthways. And then I sprayed that tinfoil down. That way that meatloaf don't stick to it. And I just kind of shape it to the crock pot. It's as simple as that. This was really easy, but y'all, it was absolutely delicious. Now we're going to take about half of that sauce and pour that right over the top. We are going to save some because when we take it out of the crock pot and put it on the baking sheet to broil it, you'll want more sauce. Trust me on this. Now, I just spread that sauce right over the top of it just to make sure it's all covered. We'll pop that lid on it and cook it on low for 6 hours. This was smelling so good when I got home from work. It was amazing. Now, the best thing about lining your crock pot is you can take the tinfoil and you can pull it right on up out of there and put it right on your baking sheet. I did line it with some more foil though. Now, once that's on there, we're going to go ahead and take that extra sauce right there, pour that right over the top, and then smooth that out. And all we're going to do is just pop that right into the broiler. That way that sauce can get nice and caramelized in there, like you see right here. And this was amazing. I cannot rave enough about this one. So good, so tender. It was not dried out. It was so flavorful. And all I did was serve it up with some homemade mashed potatoes and some buttered corn. Oh, so good. Now, next up, but certainly not least, is the pepperoni tortellini skillet. You cannot get any easier than this, and it is fantabulous, y'all. So into an oven-safe skillet, I got 1 pound of ground beef. We're going to season it up with some garlic powder, onion powder, and some Italian seasoning, about a teaspoon each of those. Salt and pepper to taste, probably about a half a teaspoon, if that. Then we're going to add in some Badia Complete. You can use any kind of complete seasoning. Nature seasoning is a good alternative to that if you don't want to use the Badia. Then you'll just kind of break that beef down until it's nice and brown through. We're going to take the mini pepperonis here, but you could always just dice up some regular pepperonis too. You're going to add in about 3/4 of a cup of those. And then you'll want to let them toast up in that pan with that ground beef until they start to curl up. Then you'll add in 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Give that a stir together. Next goes in 4 ounces of cream cheese. Now, I did kind of mush this around into the pan to kind of like help it get softened, but you could always soften it up in the microwave too. I just put it straight on in there and just kind of worked through the mixture. Then you'll add in 24 ounces of your favorite marinara sauce. Give that a nice stir together. That way you can make sure that that cream cheese mixes well with your marinara sauce. Now we're going to add in a bag of the frozen cheese tortellini, just the normal size bag. They will cook down. You don't have to boil them, and it has more flavor. Once that's stirred together, pop that lid on there and let it cook for about 15 minutes or so. Give that a nice stir before topping it with some cheese. Now, I did a mixture. I did some Monterey Jack and some cheddar. Then you just top it with some diced up pepperoni or the rest of the pepperoni minis. Put that lid on it, let that cheese melt just for a second, or you can stick it under the broiler like I did to where it gets nice and browned on up. It only took about maybe 3 minutes or so in there, and I just topped it with some extra Parmesan and some parsley, and y'all, this was amazing. All right, y'all, that is it for today's video. I truly hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you give me thumbs ups, leave me comments down below, and hit that subscribe button right there and become part of my YouTube family. I would absolutely love to have y'all here. If you are in need of prayer, please let me know down below. I would be honored to pray for you all. And if you're looking for some other ground beef ideas or just some other recipes, check out these other 2 videos on your screen right now. Until next time, God bless. Bye.